There was an old bicycle rusted with the passage of time, its once bright yellow paint now dulled and chipped. Joe Turner pedaled through the streets of Maplewood, a small town cradled between rolling hills, where the rain often feathered down in gentle sheets. As a part-time handyman, every day felt like a wrestling match against the wear and tear of life. His bank account claimed defeat while his heart still held the will to fight. His denim jeans, frayed at the edges, were a testament to the years spent trying to stretch a meager paycheck to cover rent and the occasional meal. Despite the faded circumstances of his life, Joe maintained a simple, earnest demeanor. He spoke softly, with a kindness that seemed to round the edges of the world around him, and had one rule he never broke: if you had something to give, no matter how small, it was a privilege to share it. Today, clouds conspired above, graying the skies as they draped the town in a shroud of rain. The streets glimmered puddles, and Joe found himself making his precarious way home from yet another job that barely paid enough to keep the bills at bay. He used the lunch his sister had packed for him as a cushion to cover the squeaks from his bike, a simple ham sandwich. It was more than he could ask for, given her own financial struggles. With each stroke of the pedals, he recalled the obligation he had committed himself to, helping out at a community center where other families found solace. It was one of the few refuges in town where laughter echoed despite the undercurrents of hardship. He lived for those moments, when hope prevailed against the odds. Still, shadows lingered, the bills piled up, and the dream of a more comfortable life seemed as distant as the thin outline of sunlight trying to break through clouds above. Just as Joe approached the park, the rain intensified, the air thickened with the moisture of a brewing storm. He contemplated taking shelter in the nearby cafe, knowing that warmth and a cheap cup of coffee would do more for him than a soggy bicycle ride. But as he crossed the park, a flicker of movement caught his eye. There, amidst the sheets of rain, huddled against the rough bark of an oak tree, was a small bundle of fur, quaking violently, soaked through, and completely alone. Joe's heart erupted, racing to a tempo that matched the pounding rhythm of the rain around him. Instinctively, he leaned his bike against the tree, barely bothering to think of how drenched he would become in the process. "Hey, there," he whispered, crouching down to meet the puppy's fearful gaze. The creature was no more than 8 weeks old, its large brown eyes wide with fear and uncertainty. Despite the quagmire beneath him, Joe reached out a hand, fingertips barely grazing the wet fur. "It's all right. You're safe now." An echo of a smile tugged at his lips. He felt warmth bubble in his chest as the little one's trembling stilled, curiosity replacing sheer terror. As wrapped the puppy in his jacket, one of the few modest talismans against the rain, he could feel his heart expand in an unexpected surge. The quiet weight of longing settled in, propelling him beyond his own financial struggles and mundane concerns. This was a moment that meant more than any paycheck would provide. He had always believed that kindness, however small, created ripples of transformation. Just like the people he worked with in the community center, they shared not out of abundance but out of a collective understanding of struggles. As he cradled the puppy against his chest, he could feel his own burdens lessening through the fragile warmth of the creature's tiny body. "Let's get you dried off," he murmured, deciding against his own need for coffee and instead directing his energy toward the realization that this puppy needed him just as much as he needed her. Clutching a soggy bundle of hope, he envisioned how adoption or a refuge might lead them both toward brighter ease. That day, amidst the dreary rain, a transformative bond was forged between man and puppy. In the echo of raindrops against pavement, Joe felt the stirrings of a promise, one that held the potential to change not only his fate but to reach beyond any financial struggle into the depths of understanding, companionship, and unwavering loyalty. The rains fell relentlessly, yet as they rode through it together, even the storm felt lighter. With the puppy nestled securely in the warmth of his jacket, Joe pedaled through the rain with renewed vigor. The bike felt lighter, buoyed by a shared purpose that seemed to elevate him above the worries swirling like storm clouds in the world around him. As the streets began to blur in the downpour, he found himself humming softly, a tune he remembered from childhood that spoke of wayward dreams and whispers of hope. Once home, Joe hurriedly dried the trembling pup with an old towel, her fur slowly transforming back into a semblance of softness. Playful glimmer in her eyes, as they stared back at him, ignited something within him. It was a spark of joy he hadn't realized he'd missed. "How about we call you Rain?" "It seems fitting," he said, grinning as she wagged her tail, enthusiastic and eager to learn about her new home. That night, as lightning cracked the sky and thunder rolled like an angry beast, they curled up together on the couch. Rain instinctively burrowed under his arm, finding comfort in the warmth that Joe radiated. Sitting there, listening to the rhythmic patter of rain against the windows, he vowed to protect and provide for this newfound companion. They were both two stubborn souls against the storm, fighting against their own struggles and seeming impossibilities. The next morning, the rain let up, revealing a bruised and murky sky. Joe brewed coffee and made a quick breakfast for himself while Rain rested peacefully at his feet. As he scrolled through his somewhat defunct phone, checking weather updates and awaiting more repair jobs, a flood of messages interrupted the somber stillness of the morning. One of his old contacts, a fellow handyman named Leo, had reached out to him. Leo worked for a growing property management company, and he had a backlog of maintenance requests piling up due to the recent weather. "Hey, Joe. You interested in picking up some gigs? We could use a trustworthy hand to help out on several properties. Pay is good, and it could keep you busy for a while," read the text. Joe's heart raced. This could be his chance to turn things around, to finally catch up on the bills that had been looming over his head like dark storm clouds. "Absolutely," he replied quickly, a feeling of hope washing over him. "I'm in." Over the next few days, Joe found himself working alongside Leo. The jobs ranged from fixing leaky faucets to repairing drywall and even untangling a disaster of blown fuses from a lightning strike. Each completed task brought a sense of satisfaction that knitted deep within him. It was through the whirlwind of those labor-intensive days that he had the chance to meet Christine, a single mother living in one of the properties Leo had sent him to repair. She was warm and spirited, despite her burdens, and worked hard to maintain her modest home for her two young children. When she caught sight of Rain, who had become Joe's steadfast companion, her face lit up with joy. "Thank you for rescuing that pup," she said one day as Joe worked on a leaky pipe in her kitchen. "You know, you're the kind of person this town needs more of." She took a moment, brushing back a stray lock of hair. "Your kindness shines through. It's refreshing. My kids could use a furry friend, and I would love to help you with the adoption process if you ever decide to find her a good home." Over the next few weeks, Christine and Joe's friendship blossomed, and soon it evolved into something deeper. They began sharing lunch breaks, exchanging stories about their weathering the storms together. Joe opened up about his struggles, and Christine spoke candidly about her dreams of starting a local bakery. Their support for each other became a comforting presence against the uncertainty that often clouded their days. One afternoon, Christine shared her aspiration. "You know, I've dreamed of opening my own bakery for years, but I never have the funds and time to do it," she said over mugs of steaming coffee. Joe listened intently as she spoke with fervor, the light in her eyes feeding the potential of her vision. Inspired by her passion, he couldn't help but ask, "What if I helped? I've got some savings from these jobs, and I'd love to partner with you. It could turn our dreams around." The two struck a deal, what felt like an avenue painted with golden hues of possibilities. They'd join forces. Christine would create whimsical baked goods, while Joe would take care of the repairs, renovations, and maintenance, transforming a rundown space into a bustling bakery. They laid plans, drawing sketches of what the bakery could look like. Just as the seeds of their partnership took root, another blessing landed in their laps. One evening, after a long day of work, Leo contacted Joe again, this time with a proposition for both him and Christine. He had a relationship with a local investor, an enthusiastic food lover who wanted to support local businesses by providing substantial funding, more than any of them could dream of, for promising ideas. Joe pulled Christine aside, excitement bubbling within him. "This could be the break we've been waiting for," he exclaimed, showing her the messages. A meeting was set with the investor, and both their dreams glimmered in the distance, now fueled by hope and renewed energy. When the day of the meeting finally arrived, Christine was a bundle of nervous energy. Joe gently squeezed her hand, reminding her of their shared vision. The investor came highly recommended and brought with him a kind-hearted spirit, ready to support new dreams. As they entered a cozy cafe to discuss their bakery plans, the atmosphere brimmed with promise. "Your idea is remarkable, and it speaks to the heart of the community," he told them, nodding thoughtfully. "I'd like to invest $20,000 to get your bakery up and running." Joe and Christine exchanged incredulous looks, unable to believe what they had just heard. This meant that the bakery was not just a dream anymore, it was on the brink of becoming a reality. After the joyous meeting, Joe walked home with Rain bounding alongside him, still bubbling with enthusiasm. His heart thudded in rhythm with the steady beat of hope. The chia seeds of kindness he'd sowed, a small act of saving a puppy from the rain, sprouted into undeniable opportunities. Together, they had transformed their lives and connected with the community in ways he had never envisioned. The days turned into weeks as they set to work, side by side, awakening early with the rising, painting walls, planning menus, and laying the groundwork for their budding dream. They even organized fundraisers with the community to foster support for the upcoming grand opening. Neighbors brought baked goods for tasting, families helped paint or set up tables, and the spirit of kindness rippled further as they shared their story. It was in the warmth of the community, the laughter of children, and the sincere support that Joe realized a profound truth. Kindness didn't stop at the act, its true potential unfolded in the connections forged, the dreams sparked, and the lives touched. They had not just rescued a puppy, they had crafted a brighter future for themselves, one built on shared resilience and the warmth of compassion. As the grand opening neared, everything fell into place. The long days and nights of hard work brought them to a culmination. A charming bakery, vivid with colors and the intoxicating scent of freshly baked bread, seemed to breathe life into Maplewood. Joy dripped from the walls, laughter filled the air, and people flooded in, drawn by the spirit of warmth that radiated from every corner. On opening day, the bakery welcomed a parade of laughing children and joyful families. Joe stood at the register, Rain tucked playfully by his feet, as he rang up pastries for neighbors and friends alike. Christine beamed behind the counter, serving up delicious treats she'd crafted with love and flourished with spirit. As the sun streamed into the shop, illuminating the happy faces and soothing the hearts of everyone gathered, Joe couldn't help but feel the weight of every struggle dissolve into the wistful melody of hope. They had transformed their lives together. The ripple of kindness had touched many, turning a single act of compassion into a remarkable journey of love, connection, prosperity, and a chance to embrace the love they had for each other and the community. It was a new chapter, thriving under the warmth of hopeful dreams and honoring spirit, lit by the promise of tearing down the walls of despair and building a bright future from the ashes of the past. On the morning of the grand opening for Rain's Bakery, the sun shone brighter than ever before, bathing Maplewood in a warm, golden light. The scent of freshly baked bread wafted from the open doors, mingling with the crisp air and inviting everyone who passed to stop and take a look. Joe stood at the entrance, a mixture of anxiety and exhilaration stirring in his chest as he watched the crowd gathering. Rain, now more vibrant and energetic than ever, danced around his feet, sensing the palpable excitement in the atmosphere. "Today's the day, Rain," Joe said, lowering himself to scratch behind her ears as a smile broke through his nerves. "Can you believe we're finally here?" Each wag of Rain's tail seemed to echo back his mounting hope. Christine emerged from the kitchen, flour dusted on her apron and a beaming smile lighting up her face. "Everything's. The pastries are perfect, the coffee is brewing, and the children's corner looks fantastic." She flounced around, her enthusiasm contagious. Joe couldn't help but feel a rush of pride seeing the vision they had painstakingly built together come to life. As the clock ticked closer to opening time, they took a moment to step outside and greet those waiting eagerly at the door. Familiar faces greeted them, and neighbors, friends from the community center, and families who had shared their stories of hope wavering in uncertain times. Many came to support their efforts, gratitude etched across the smiles of those they had touched during the hardest days. The crowd buzzed with excitement as Joe adjusted his apron and prepared to welcome customers. Just seconds before they swung the sign that declared the bakery open, the local news crew arrived. A young reporter stepped out of the vehicle, her sleek notepad ready to capture the moment. "Can I get a word with you both? We heard you have a heartwarming story behind this bakery, and we would love to share it with the community," she said, her camera crew setting up quickly. Taking a deep breath, Joe met Christine's encouraging gaze, and they both knew it was the right moment to talk about the kindness that had bound them together. "Of course," Joe replied, his voice steady despite the fluttering in his stomach. They stepped forward, Rain tilting her head, clearly intrigued by the sudden attention. Somehow, Joe felt like they were all in this together, Rain, Christine, and himself, a trio that had emerged stronger than any of them had dared to dream. As they shared their story, Joe highlighted the serendipitous moment he found Rain, how saving that shivering puppy had ignited the flames of hope not just in his life, but in the lives of many around them. "We wanted this bakery to be a place of kindness and community, a reflection of the connections we had all forged during our journey," he explained. The reporter nodded, peered, writing down every word they shared. When the time finally came to open the doors, someone shouted, "Let's eat," and the infectious spirit of joy spread like wildfire. They swung the door open, and gasps of delight echoed inside the cozy space. The first waves of customers flooded through, mothers clutched children's hands, families reunited after a long week, and friends embraced with laughter. "Just 2 croissants and a latte, please," shouted a bubbly young girl, and as Joe filled the order, he chuckled, handing her a heart-shaped cookie on the house. Christine grinned from behind the counter, taking orders and serving baked goods, managing to keep up with the volume. Laughter filled the air, and a sense of belonging wrapped around them like a warm blanket. Every time a customer's face lit up at the first bite of pastry, Joe felt the fulfillment of their mission wash over him. He and Christine worked seamlessly, discussing new ideas for the menu between orders, already aiming up seasonal treats, and taking notes for upcoming community events centered around baking tutorials. With each busy hour, he felt his worries slip away. As the sun dipped lower and the afternoon wore on, Joe stepped outside for a moment to catch his breath. Gazing at the lively streets filled with laughter, he couldn't help but reflect on how far he had come. What had started as a singular act of kindness, a rescue from the rain, had branched into something far more transformative than he could ever have imagined. "Hey," Christine called, interrupting his reverie as she joined him outside, a cup of coffee in hand. "You okay?" She looked concerned. Joe grinned, eyes sparkling with contentment. "I'm incredible. I just can't believe we're really doing this. It's as if every struggle I faced was leading me here, to this very moment." His eyes fell on Rain, who was gathering the attention of several delighted children, eagerly soaking up the affection as they petted. His expression softened. "We did this together, Joe. You saved Rain and, in turn, you saved yourself. This bakery is a gift to our community, but it only happened because you chose to act out of kindness, even when you had everything stacked against you," she replied, her voice filled with warmth. "But that's just it, without your passion and support, Rain's bakery would have stayed a dream," Joe admitted, his voice tinged with gratitude as he looked at her, realizing the power of their partnership that had blossomed amidst the waves of uncertainty. The bustling bakery continued to hum with life as children climbed up to a miniature table set with icing and sprinkles, painting rocks to become playful decorations for the shop. It was a beautiful sight that underscored the very essence of what they hoped to achieve, a community united by kindness, creativity, and laughter. Each Sunday became a day of shaping dreams together as they invited local talent, musicians, and neighbors. Over time, the bakery evolved into a center for the community, a hub where joy, companionship, and creativity intertwined. Together, they hosted once-monthly fundraising events with themed pastries, teaching baking classes for children, and offering fellowship opportunities for newcomers looking for a place to call home. Months passed and the initial flurry of excitement eased into a steady rhythm. By embracing their newfound financial stability, Joe and Christine found themselves exploring opportunities for business expansion. As requests for catering increased and community desires emerged, they decided to launch a mobile bakery truck to reach neighboring towns. Imagine traveling to local fairs and markets, spreading joy everywhere. Christine suggested one afternoon, and together, they envisioned new horizons. They pooled their finances and were met with an enthusiastic nod from their investor, who was thrilled to support their goal. As they watched the bakery truck before their eyes into a vibrant, rolling banh mi stand, complete with Rain on the logo, Joe couldn't help but realize how the universe had conspired in their favor. It was a seamless manifestation of the kindness they had surrounded themselves with, radiating far beyond the walls of their physical space. On the day of the truck's launch, the community assembled once again at the bakery for a celebration, hearts full and spirits soaring. Together, they cheered as Joe and Christine cut the ribbon, doused with sparkling confetti. It was a shared moment of joy that once again underscored the profound impact that compassion could have on the world. As they toured the town and beyond with their mobile bakery, each sweet treat sold contributed to the funding of scholarships for kids in need, launching baking classes, and even pet adoption events promoting responsible animal rescue practices. Joe's heart swelled every time he saw a child clutching a custom cookie, a laughing puppy grateful for the cycle of kindness that he had dared to weave. One evening, as they returned from a long but rewarding day at an annual fair, Joe sat on the front steps of the bakery, Rain sprawled beside him, and Christine nestled comfortably in the other chair. The faded sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of orange and purple across the sky. "Look at everything we've built," Christine said softly, gazing toward the bustling bakery, lights twinkling like stars. "Every child who leaves with a smile, every parent who finds comfort here, it all started with one small act of kindness, Joe. I just never could have imagined." Joe began, taking a deep breath. "In saving Rain, I wound up saving myself too. You showed me that being vulnerable and loving was the answer, not just surviving, but truly living and thriving." With Rain lounging at their feet, they embraced the silence that followed. The fullness of their lives resonated through that quiet moment, where gratitude and hope intertwined like the flavors of the pastries they baked. In that instant, as the breeze carried melodies of laughter and kindness, Joe reflected on how far he had come, a boy who had once felt lost in life's storm to a man guiding a community toward brighter days, all thanks to a once shivering puppy, and the enduring belief that love and connection could steer the course of life's journey. They sat watching the evening unfold, invigorated by the dreams of tomorrow and the promise of more to come, the ultimate truth that kindness, like a simple act of compassion, could grow into something monumental, changing lives and uniting spirits along the way. And together, Joe, Christine, and Rain prepared to embrace it all, ready for each adventure life still had waiting for them ahead.